Welcome to the IFMS Minor Procurement video presentation. In this presentation, we are going to be looking at the procurement process as stated in the Financial Management Manual, minor procurement, and the business process overview. The procurement process. The procurement processes to be used are determined by the value in Guinea of the procurement. The categories for expenditure by value are amounts less than 100,000 fall under the classification of minor. The process is codes and its detailed reference is found in Part 12 of the IFMS. Amounts greater or equal to 100,000 fall under the classification of major. The process is public tender. The detailed reference is found under Part 13 of the IFMS. Minor procurement. Minor procurement have two processes. Amounts less than 5,000 follow three verbal quotations. Detailed reference Part 12 Division 2 of the IFMS. Amounts 5,000 kina up to 100,000 are three written quotation. Detailed reference is in Part 12 Division 3 of the IFMS. This video presentation will focus on minor procurement process practice in the IFMS. This is the business overview of the minor procurement. Here can be seen the non-system process, or what is done outside of the IFMS system before going into the IFMS, which is the IFMS system process. This will be looked at in more detail as we go through in the presentation of the various roles practiced by the Authorized Requisitioning Officer, or the ARO, DFD, Financial Delegate, and the Section 32 Officer. The non-system process, or what is being done outside of the system. Firstly, the ARO identifies the purchasing requirement. Then the ARO obtains necessary quotations, and the ARO recommends the supplier. Here is an example of a quotation from the Culinary Delight Catering Services. The quotation has an amount of 750 kina. Description is catering for independence celebrations for 2012. It is also important to note here that when the quotation is obtained, the ARO has to fill in the FF3s and FF4s to attach it with this quotation before they can enter this information into the requisition form in the IFMS. In the IFMS, the ARO receives the request and selects the supplier. The ARO then goes into the system to perform a funds check inquiry. Data is entered into the IFMS, then the ARO submits it to the FD for approval. We will now log into the IFMS as the ARO and raise a requisition. The environment that I'm using is the training environment. The various workplaces will display. The ARO selects the appropriate workplace, so they choose the Authorized Requisitioning Officer. Before an ARO can raise a requisition, it is important that there are funds against the item or the economic item that they are going to do the commitment against. So she does an inquire by clicking on the Inquire tab. Then they click on the ARO Available Funds Inquiry. If the ARO knows exactly what appropriation to choose, they can go directly to that particular appropriation. If they need to do a search, they can click on the search key or scroll up and down on the scroll bar to locate the appropriate appropriation. In our case, we'll be using the appropriation level 10047. Keep drilling down to the economic level. We'll be using the economic item 228 for training. Keep drilling down till you have the full screen economic item. Now you can view your available funds. Close the screen to get back. The arrow then clicks on the Purchase Requisition tab to raise a purchase requisition. The arrow needs to click on the blank AP supplier requisition. Displayed here is the requisition. The arrow needs to fill in details in the requisition header and the requisition line. I'm now going to fill in the requisition header. We have now completed filling in the requisition header and the requisition line. Now the ARO is ready to submit the requisition for the FD's approval. The recent messages list appears. Close the dialog box by clicking X on the left hand side and click close on the screen. When the requisition goes to the FD or the financial delegate will review the requisition or quotations contracts. If it is within his delegated authority, he will approve. Otherwise, he will submit it to the appropriate Section 32 officer. The FD will now go into IFMS to view the requisition details submitted by the ARO. The FD selects the appropriate role, so the FD will select the financial delegate role. In order to check the requisitions been submitted, the FD needs to click on the My Workflow tab. The requisitions submitted will be sitting in the inbox of the FD. In order to view the requisition, the FD selects it and clicks Open Go PNG Requisition on the Actions for a task. The requisition is displayed. The FD verifies it. On the actions to perform pane, other options the FD can use. If it is not within his approval, he'll submit it to the appropriate Section 32 officer. If he views the requisition and there are some important details that the ARO has not submitted it, he'll reject it back to the ARO by clicking the Reject Back hyperlink. In this case, we'll submit it to the appropriate Section 32 officer. After filling in the required details in this dialog box, the financial delegate then can click OK. The requisition has been successfully submitted for the Section 32's approval. Click the X on the end of this dialog box to close it and click Close on your screen. When the requisition goes to the Section 32 officer, the Section 32 officer will review the requisition and quotations of contracts and approves the requisition for PO release. Now we will log in as the Section 32 officer, and our Section 32 officer nominated here is Margaret Tenkanai. This is the home of the Section 32 officer, Margaret Tenkanai. This is her work role. She has the work role of GL Inquiry Officer. She will click into My Workflow here to access the requisition sent by the financial delegate. Now, this is the requisition that was sent by the financial delegate. For Margaret Tenkanai to access this, she has to highlight this. Click Open here on the task pane. And now here is the purchase requisition. As the Section 32 officer, she has to determine if the requisition is complete, the requisition is correct, expenditure is necessary, and requisition complies with the Public Finance Management Act procurement requirements and the procedures. If she is satisfied with all of this, she will approve the requisition for purchase order. If one of these is wrong, she will have to refer it back, reject it back to the FD. In the event that Margaret gets a requisition that deals with her, she has to refer this to another Section 32 officer, which you have this function here, refer to another Section 32 officer. Therefore, in this case, she's happy. We will have to approve requisition for purchase order release. Got to scroll down. Before we do that, got to check. Now it's gone through. The requisition has been successfully approved. On the recent messages list here, you click on this small X here to get rid of this screen. Now the work of the Section 32 officer is now complete. Click Close on the Windows toolbar and click Retrieve, so this one will be gone. And therefore you see that as the Section 32 officer, there is no requisition for you in the inbox here. The ones that you have done will be gone once you click Retrieve here. The FD then goes into the system to print out the purchase order. The arrow has to physically collect the PO from the FD. The PO is to be taken to the supplier for goods and services to be rendered. We will now log into the system as the financial delegate to print out the purchase order. The financial delegate again selects his role as FD under Workplaces. In order to release and print the purchase order, the financial delegate has to click on the Processing tab. Then he clicks on Orders Release and Print. The financial delegate selects all authorized codes by clicking on the radio button, All Authorized Codes. The financial delegate needs to create his username because he wasn't the one who created this requisition, and click Retrieve. The requisition will display. On the actions to perform, click Release and Print Selected Orders. Then the financial delegate selects the appropriate transmission method for this purchase order to be printed. In this case, select in print and click OK. This is the copy of the purchase order. Okay, click close to get out of the processing tab. When the goods and services are delivered, the ARO checks the delivery against the order. Then the ARO goes into the IFMS system and prints out the delivery slip. We'll now log in as the ARO to print out the delivery slip. Select the correct role, which is the authorized requisitioning officer. In order for the ARO to print out the delivery slip, the ARO clicks on the Orders tab. The ARO clicks Retrieve. The ARO selects the purchase order and clicks Receive Goods on the actions to perform. The purchase order screen is now displayed. For the ARO to affirm that the goods have been received, they click on the box and select Receive Selected Lines. Then the ARO clicks Approve and Print on the actions to perform. The document transmission dialog box appears. The ARO selects the appropriate transmission method and clicks OK. The delivery slip will be displayed. This is the copy of the delivery slip. In order to get out of the screen, click Close on the Windows toolbar. This brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you for your attendance and participation.